That's a national ID card. Are you for that?
Absolutely not. I voted against the Real ID. I think the Real ID is the national ID card. It's essentially going to be introducing the notion that we will be carrying our papers. You can't do that, gather that much information in an ID card for illegal aliens or Hispanics and not include everybody. It just doesn't make any sense. So the age of carrying our papers and national IDs, it's here.
One of the newest tools to identify yourself and others is called biometrics, an identity verification system that uses your physical characteristics. It is through biometrics that we can prove that we are who we say we are.
Biometrics uses a part of the body, a face, an iris, or a fingerprint to confirm your ID.
Iris scans and palm scans, eye tracking devices, blood vessel biometrics that analyze the pattern of the vessels beneath your skin.
It's captured. That's good.
This is a wireless device that the police could use at a random checkpoint. It takes your fingerprints and has software in it to do facial recognition within seconds.
RFID is a technology that uses tiny computer chips the size of a grain of sand or even smaller, hooked up to miniature antennas to transmit information about items at a distance. Radio waves can travel through walls, they can travel through wood, they can travel through the things we normally rely on to protect our privacy. For example, your purse, your backpack, your pocket, anything you're wearing or carrying.
Well, the security card that lawmakers are using at California State Capitol may not be as secure as everyone had hoped. In fact, one California lawmaker proved it can be hacked. That same technology is being considered for a national ID card.
With a homemade antenna and a laptop, West Hughes was able to read radio waves emitted by Pavley's identity card, duplicate it, and then gain access to a secured area of the state capitol.
All that was done within a moments of time without me even being aware of it.
Simidian's experiment illustrated just how easy it is for a hacker to read those radio frequency identification cards, or RFIDs, from a few feet away.
Homeland Security folks, the Department of Defense and others have expressed an interest in being able to more closely monitor the U.S. populace, and one way to do that, of course, would be being able to determine who buys what and where they take those things. The latest technology for identifying people at the point of sale, for identifying people when they make purchases, is actually the implantable chip that you can actually embed directly into human flesh. It's a tiny glass capsule about the size of a grain of rice. It contains an RFID computer chip with a coiled antenna, and it can transmit information also at a distance.
It is time to wake up, America. These ID cards are not about defeating terrorism, but they are all about controlling the American people. This ID card is the last step before they implant us.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over.
Think of all the men and women who died in all our wars, fighting for freedom. Do you think they sacrificed their lives so that Americans could be chipped like a dog? So we could all have a homing device inside us? No.
Dozens of states are fighting back, saying the Real ID Act is too costly and is a threat to our civil liberties.
There are currently bills pending in 25 states that are aimed at either outright repealing the Real ID Act or raising concerns about it, as tracked by the National Conference of State Legislatures.
You folks are the people who are leading this state to prevent national ID from creeping across America and New Hampshire. You're not alone. The National Governors Association opposes Real ID. The National Council of State Legislatures opposes Real ID. The National Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, the folks who have to administer this national ID thing, oppose it. The conservatives oppose it. The Cato Institute, one of the more conservative think tanks, came up to New Hampshire and testified last week at the Senate hearing on this bill in opposition. And guess what? The liberals oppose this. The ACLU came up from Washington, testified again before the Senate and said no to a national ID. Religious people, Christians and Jews oppose this. The people of America and the people of New Hampshire oppose this.
Bollinger with the National Veterans Committee on Constitutional Affairs has been crisscrossing the Capitol with a handful of volunteers, working to convince lawmakers to support legislation against Real ID. Republican State Representative Samuel Rohrer is against the Real ID movement, saying it puts too much sensitive information at risk.
The Real ID Act. While PennDOT has said it's still evaluating the program, News 8 has learned it's been preparing for it since 2006.
This stack of hundreds of pages outlines years of contractual agreements between PennDOT and Visage Technology. Page 48 of a contract extension lists one of the company's goals as assisting PennDOT with the transition required by the Real ID Act.
It would appear that they have, through the contract, ceded a significant amount of authority.
Why is Pennsylvania doing it? Why has our Appropriations Committee allowed these line items in the budget, technology improvements to PennDOT, to be implemented when it's not even necessary?
The dangers exist, but they're not quite bad enough, and they never should be bad enough to sacrifice liberty. There's no reason to sacrifice liberty in thinking that you're going to be safer.